Red Shock TV.
¿Ya estás lista? Sí.
Estoy emocionada. Mira.
¿Qué es eso?
Demos la bienvenida al señor Zack Snyder, director de esta... Ben Affleck. Henry Cavill. Gal Gadot. Bien, vamos a agilizar esto, vamos a tratar de hacerlo lo más rápido que se pueda para que haya mucha oportunidad de ustedes de preguntar. Esta es la primera pregunta para el señor Frank Miller. This is the first question for you. Zack Snyder, sorry. This is for Zack. Can we say Batman v Superman, it's an homage of your devotion and passion towards Frank Miller's work? How much of this movie is based on The Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah, you know, I read that comic book in 1986 when it came out, and I've been reading comic books my whole life, and that one really said to me, like, okay, there's another way of doing it. Like, Frank basically took the idea of comic book narrative and the idea of, like, comic book imagery and really just the archetypes and just turned them on their heads. And I think, though the story is different from what Frank did in Dark Knight Returns, I really felt like, as a way of saying thank you to Frank for sort of shaping my aesthetic over the last 20 years. I really wanted to get these images that had affected me so much into the movie, and you can see it, his presence throughout, as well as just tonally. It's very similar, and it's a way into this sort of conflict between Batman and Superman.
Great, thank you, Zack. La siguiente pregunta es representante de Cine Premier. Le vamos a pedir que se ponga de pie y le vamos a pedir también al compañero de Eureka que le pase el micrófono.
Gracias. My question is for Mr. Snyder. The character of Lex Luthor has a very fresh approach to him. I was wondering, what was your vision for Lex from the beginning, and how did casting Jesse Eisenberg help that vision?
Yeah, that's Jesse. I met with Jesse. He came into, actually we were talking about another role, and when he came in, he offered just such he's a smart guy, and he's got this amazing sort of just way about him that is, you know, you never could tell whether he's being self-deprecating or whether he's like insulting you. And I mean that as a compliment. And so he really was an amazing force of nature. When he left, I thought, you know, this guy, to me, could really play an amazing Lex in that, you know, he offers this character that you can't quite figure out. You never can tell exactly what his motivations are or where he's headed, and that's what I really felt was offered an amazing possibility for Lex, is that, you know, I think Lex in the past has been so sort of iconographic, and you're always instantly aware of what his motivation, what his plan is, you know. And I think with Jesse, you know, you're constantly guessing, and you don't know like where it's going to go, which I think is fun.
Perfecto, gracias compañera de Cine Premier. Excelsior, compañero Excelsior, de este lado.
Mi pregunta es, percibo que te basaste en varias historias y varios universos de los cómics, The New 52, incluso Red Son de Superman. Y creo que un trabajo importante y quien te ayudó mucho fue Geoff Johns, que actualmente escribe La Liga de la Justicia en el universo New 52. ¿Qué tanto apoyó él a ti en el guión? Y why you didn't include the epic phrase of Frank Miller in The Dark Knight Returns? In your private moments, you will remember that I was the only man who can beat you.
I'm going to start with the Frank Miller line because I think that the difference with what Frank Miller did is in that scene, there's an implication in The Dark Knight Returns. The point of the conflict is for Superman to sort of win or survive, right? In Dark Knight Returns, and so that, in a weird way, that line is a clue in the book to what happens later in the book, right? Like he's sort of setting us up to understand that he realizes, Batman knows in the book that he's not going to make it through. So the reason I didn't include the line is because there's slightly different motivations and slightly different sort of character concepts going forward in the movie. And so it didn't make 100% sense for him to say that to me, because I felt like what Batman's intention in the movie is different than what Batman's intention is in the book. And as far as Jeff Johns goes, Jeff Johns is has been an amazing collaborator with us. I'm going to say that he, for this movie, and his, Chris Terrio and I really were sort of the driving forces behind sort of what to include and what not to include. Although Jeff certainly was consulted and talked to about, to make sure we weren't, completely screwing up the canon. Although I'm pretty careful with the canon most of the time about, what characters can do and what they can't do. I do like to, with any sort of mythological conceit, you have to also want or be willing to challenge that exact notion and conceit. Like, the idea that certain characters absolutely cannot do certain things. If you're a fan of the comic books, you know that idea is constantly challenged by every comic book writer that ever existed. Like, for instance, in Man of Steel, people have said to me, like, oh, you had Zod, Superman kill Zod, and that's like an impossible thing. And I'm always like, well, if you've ever read the comic books, you know that that's happened in the comics, and that it's all about, to me, this idea of testing and pushing those icons, these archetypes that we believe. The only metaphor that's interesting is one that you can challenge, and I think that's what we have here. But at the same time, I do have a real, I have a reverence for these characters, and I will bend them, but I won't break.
There's a rumor that you were rewriting the script as the movie was shooting. So I want to tell if that's true, and if that you used the Batman suit while rewriting the script, and why was that you were rewriting the script?
That is the dumbest rumor. I have lived a long life of rumors, and many of them absurd, and that is one of the most absurd of all of them. I just like the idea also that if I was gonna write, I would go put on the bat suit first, just to get ready, because it's so comfortable to write in. I can't even write with a pencil, much less type with the gloves on.
How contemporary is your approach to this iconic character?
Before they even cast me for this part, Zach had a very, very clear vision and an idea on who is the Wonder Woman that he wants to bring back and what's her story. For me, I feel like I'm the luckiest girl alive to be playing this part. I have so much respect for Wonder Woman and everything that she stands for love and justice and truth and compassion, and she's amazing. She's bigger than life. And for me, all I had to do was basically come on board, embody everything that Zach wanted me to do, give my own input and notes, and just go for it.
Primero, en algunos cómics a lo largo de la historia, Batman se ha mostrado como un personaje que le gusta trabajar en solitario, e incluso muchas veces se mostró reacio a formar parte de la Liga de la Justicia, y en esta película se promueve al final claramente, ¿no? Me gustaría que habláramos de ese cambio, y por otra parte también se ve una clara referencia a Superman yendo a Ciudad Juárez, estando en México, salvando y siendo alabado por mexicanos. Me gustaría saber por qué se eligió justamente este punto para que llegara a mostrar su poder. Gracias.
Someone want to answer that?
Yeah, it was, I don't think it was particularly Mexican. I feel like the idea was that, that's how he sort of viewed all over the world. And And I think that there was a longer section we had in there about this garment factory that he went where the fire was. So it ends up in the movie ends up being kind of just an image really in a lot of ways. But I really wanted him in the same way that the woman in Colorado on the rooftop is reaching up to him. I wanted to sort of tell that story that the world was sort of looking at Superman in a way that I don't know he's 100% comfortable with, Superman himself. I just am trying to say to people, I don't know that I'm a god necessarily, whatever the conversation is. And then as far as Batman working alone, I think that's the fun of having to drag him out of the cave and put him in the Justice League, is that he feels a responsibility to the world now or to his legacy, and he needs to act. And I think that's going to be fun to see.
Tener la oportunidad de crear este universo es más bien un reto cumplido o un sueño hecho realidad. Y para los actores, ¿cuál fue su motivación para decir sí, quiero ser un superhéroe o interpretar un superhéroe? Gracias.
So first with Zach.
The idea of Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman in a single film is first of all a comic book. Anyone who loves comic books, it's their dream to see seeing the Trinity come to life is a thing that I've always I've always just been a fan of the concept of the Trinity. So to have a shot in the movie and just sort of emotionally make that make sense is for me it was a dream come true. So yeah, I can't imagine a more impossible comic book dream than this movie. So yeah, it's been quite a thrill.
For me, it was a no-brainer. This is the role of my dreams. Where should I begin? There's so many beautiful, strong, inspiring male role models, male superheroes. There's not enough female ones. Being a mom, my daughter, she's 4. She loves princesses and everything about them. She has a full collection, a whole collection of, all the costumes of every princess that you can dream about. But she also thinks that they're all weak. She would say they're weak. They always go to sleep, and then the princess wakes them up and saves them. And I think that it's so important for girls and boys to be inspired and be exposed to these fantastic, amazing, bigger-than-life female role models.
I read Greek mythology as a boy, and I loved it. And these guys who we're playing are just modern mythological heroes of today's pop culture. And it's to play Superman, to play the big guy, to play the first is an honor which I would never say no to.
Bueno, sabemos que los cómics son ya una cosa bastante impuesta dentro de nuestra cultura, y los fans no solamente les gustan por los personajes bien construidos y las historias, sino también por las lecciones que nos dejan estos personajes. Ustedes a nivel personal, ¿qué han aprendido de los personajes que han interpretado y de la historia que vamos a ver en el cine próximamente? Gracias.
So as far as what I've learned from playing this character, he sets a fantastic example, and one which is pretty tough to follow, but quite simply, it's the honest tenacity, it's the strive towards doing the absolute best regardless of the obstacles in your way, and that's taught me a lot. Life is not always an easy walk, and learning those lessons from Superman has helped me get through it.
So for me, when I play the characters that I play, I feel like it's always give and take. I give some of me and I get some of them. And with Wonder Woman, there's so much to get. She's so amazing, and she has this unique combination between being so fantastic but also having a very charming flaws. I'm still learning. We're shooting the Wonder Woman standalone movie, right now in England, and it's an amazing ride.
I'm not sure I learned anything exactly from the character necessarily. I mean, what I learned a lot about making these movies from Zach. I learned a lot about hard work on this movie from Chris, and I learned a lot about acting from the people in the cast, and I learned that once again, the same lesson that I keep learning over and over again, which is that doesn't get good until you work your absolute hardest and your very best at it. You find a way to invest some piece of yourself and your soul in the material, and whether it's a movie about sin and redemption and fear that takes place in the wilderness or in the Batcave, you still have to invest, a piece of your soul in it if you want it to have resonance.
Hola, primero que todo, yo más que un periodista soy un fanático que tiene la bendición de trabajar en los medios. Entonces, perdonen la emoción, ay Dios mío, se me está olvidando hasta hablar español. Mi pregunta se va a limitar a una sola cosa. Ben, soy fanático de Batman desde que tengo 5 años. En nombre de todos los fans del mundo, ¿puedo estrechar tu mano para darte las gracias? ¿Sí? Bueno, ¡ay Dios mío! Eso era todo, soy un hombre feliz. Muchas gracias, los amo a todos.
Trust me, this is not an act. Sorry. Telegeek. Telegeek, por allá, compañero de Telegeek.
First of all, congratulations on the movie. It's spectacular. My question is more about a general point of view. I wanted to ask the cast what they think makes a hero, and if this is for all four, if you believe that power always ends up corrupting us.
Very good, that's the question.
I'll go first, so I don't have to talk to the other one. I don't know that power has to corrupt us, but it is an amazingly fun and interesting topic to play with in a movie. I believe there are amazingly powerful civil servants and people who really do try and do their best to help mankind and humanity. I believe that. By the way, those are heroes. So double answer, just nailed that. So maybe I should just stop. So that I do believe that, but again, like I said, it's a fun thing.
There are heroes, yeah, I mean, all around us, obviously, as you said, the people who serve their country in the military, police, ambulance drivers, first responders, teachers, nurses, single parents. I mean, the everyday heroes are everywhere out there, I'm sure among you, even some journalists. There are many, many heroes out there, people who spend their lives in the service of others and making sacrifices, and it's certainly worth noting that. And for me, I had personal heroes in my life. My mother raised my brother and I. She's a hero. My grandfather means a great deal to me. He's heroic. I think what Jennifer does with our children is beyond heroic. She's fabulous. She's an amazing mother.
The heroes, my personal heroes, who are my very close friends and my family, and sometimes my dog. And what makes them heroes to me is not only are they excellent people, apart from my dog, he's an excellent dog, but they set an example and they better those around them and make those people better. So that to me is what a hero is.
With my friends. I don't think you need to be a superhero or to do bigger than life things in order to be a hero. For me, again, my family, my friends, I know so many heroic people, even some of the people that I'm working with, and it's great. And for me, a hero is someone who tried to do good things to the outside world, to other people, and doesn't necessarily gain anything out of it. So I think that all of us has our heroic moments, and that's it.
Guys, welcome to our city. Have a great time. Thank you very much.
Si te gustó nuestro trabajo, recuerda que puedes ayudarnos a crecer, principalmente suscribiéndote dando clic aquí. Al hacerlo, no olvides seleccionar este engrane, para después darle clic en recibir notificaciones de este canal. De esta forma podrás enterarte en cuanto subamos un nuevo video. Y ahora también puedes descargar nuestra app, la cual puedes instalar en tu navegador tan solo entrando al link que está en la descripción. Al abrirla te saldrá una página como esta. Simplemente le das clic aquí, aceptas el complemento y listo. En la esquina superior derecha podrás ver nuestra app. También nos puedes ayudar si le das me gusta al video, o lo compartes con tus amigos desde tu Facebook, Twitter o cualquiera de estas redes sociales. Y hablando de redes sociales, no olvides darle me gusta a nuestra página de Facebook o seguirnos desde Twitter. Los links de estas redes podrás encontrarlas en la descripción de este video. Si quieres conocer más de nuestro trabajo, aquí tienes nuestras secciones principales. Cada una de ellas las puedes encontrar al final de la descripción de este video. Es fácil, ¿no? Yo me despido, mi nombre es Alex Herrera y en nombre de RetroFuture nos despedimos y en caso de no volvernos a ver en todo el día, amigos, buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches.